Imagine the following dynamic scenario: an impending storm hovers over the crystal-clear waters of the Mediterranean Sea, propelling a fleet of ships towards an unknown destination. These sailors, known as the Sea People, passed through the mists of antiquity, finally setting foot on the shores of Canaan. Among them, we find the Philistines, a people shrouded in mystery and enigma. They were destined to become much more than just travelers. They would become unforgettable enemies of the Israelites, being closely linked to Palestine, Israel's last adversary, which engaged in repeated conflicts, as occurred on October 7th. Let's now delve deeper into this story. Imagine a group of adventurers coming from distant lands, crossing treacherous seas and carrying with them not only their belongings, but also the very essence of their civilization. When the Philistines first appeared on the Canaanite shores, they represented more than just another group of settlers. They were bearers of a different world. Scholars such as Asaf Yusulandor argue that they emerged after the collapse of the known world in the Late Bronze Age, possibly in the An region. Imagine the collapse of the world they were familiar with, driving them to undertake daring sea voyages. Now consider their material culture, which was significantly more advanced than most people would imagine. They brought with them advanced metalworking techniques, including the ability to work iron, far ahead of their time. They were not simple barbarians at the gates, but skilled artisans and metal workers whose expertise would become a crucial part of their identity and strengthen their pottery. Unlike the uniform styles of the Canaanites or Israelites, their pottery displayed intricate designs and symbols, perhaps evoking the sea waves they witnessed on their journey. These drawings were not merely decorative, but served as a means by which the Philistines portrayed their collective memory and aspirations. Even today, when an archaeologist unearths these fragments, they whisper of the past, echoing a civilization that refuses to be forgotten. When exploring texts such as the Gospel of Mary or the Gospel of Judas, we find no direct references to the Philistines. However, the difference in spiritual beliefs between them and the Israelites was notable. While Israel was monotheistic, worshipping Yahweh, the Philistines had a pantheon of gods and goddesses. This religious plurality was not just a curiosity, but a reflection of their cosmopolitan origins, possibly influenced by their roots in An and the diverse cultures they encountered on their journey. Now, let's consider your strategic acumen. The Philistines did not choose their settlements at random, but rather locations that would become centers of commercial and military policy. Its 5 city-states, Gaza, Ascalon, Ashdod, Ekron and Gath, were not mere dots on the map. According to the book The Philistines and Other Sea Peoples, in text and archaeology, they were part of a larger network that controlled the coastal plains of Canaan. This provided them with a fortified front and easier access to Mediterranean trade routes. The conflict with the Israelites was not mere chance, it was almost inevitable. While the Israelites inhabited the highlands, dedicating themselves to agriculture and livestock, the Philistines were lords of the coastal plains. They were two worlds colliding, both wanting expansion but unable to achieve it without invading the other's territory. Thus began a long saga of conflict and uneasy coexistence, a tension that would define both for centuries. You've heard of Samson, the Herculean figure from the Book of Judges. He was an Israelite powerhouse with locks that held the secret of his supernatural strength. However, his story goes beyond just being a biblical superhero. She weaves a complex narrative in which the destinies of the Philistines and the Israelites are inextricably linked. Imagine Samson, a Nazarite from birth, divinely appointed to lead and fight, falling in love with Philistine women. This is an irony that carries the weight of an epic tragedy. Consider Delilah not just as a treacherous lover, but as a Philistine woman caught between her people and her feelings for Samson. This love affair was not just a subplot, but a profound representation of the complex relationship between their respective peoples. By exploring extra-biblical texts, we can glimpse other layers of Samson's personality that enrich our understanding of his relationships with the Philistines. He was not just a brutish man, but a complex figure, sometimes wise, sometimes impulsive, always human. Imagine the scene in the Temple of Dagon, the Philistine god, with Samson blind and weakened, his hair shaved off and his strength fading. He is presented as a trophy of Philistine triumph. However, in this very moment of defeat, Samson turns to the God of Israel and gathers strength for a final devastating act. The pillars collapse, the temple falls, and with it, a significant part of the Philistine elite. It is an ending worthy of an ancient tragedy, a moment that encapsulates the enigma of relations between Philistines and Israelites, intense and, ultimately, destructive for both sides. As we move on to the books of Samuel, the Philistines stop being supporting characters and become the central antagonists. They become the villains in the ongoing drama of Israelite nation-building. Saul, Israel's first king, finds himself in almost constant conflict with the sea people. These are not simple skirmishes, but rather battles for survival. Based on the chronicles of Israelite history, we can sense the urgency in Saul's campaigns, facing the Philistines with their iron chariots and iron-based military technology, perhaps acquired from his origins or commercial connections. The Philistines were not just an opposing force, they were a technological marvel, a formidable army that made the Israelites seem antiquated by comparison. And then enters David, the shepherd of Bethlehem, who would later be anointed king. You probably know the story of David and Goliath, a tale that has inspired countless generations. Goliath of Gath appears as a symbol of Philistine military prowess, an armored giant, defiant and disdainful of the Israelite soldiers. Imagine David, choosing not to wear the heavy armor, entering the valley armed only with his sling and faith in Yahweh. When that stone flies from his sling and strikes Goliath's forehead, it is not just a victory for the oppressed, but a collision of worldviews, a seismic shift in the balance of power. Think of the Israelite soldiers, once apprehensive, now finding courage. Think of the Philistine army, shocked by the retreat. This battle wasn't just physical, it was deeply symbolic. David's victory was more than personal, it was a divine affirmation of Israel's claim to the Promised Land, showing that despite their technological inferiority, the Israelites were not to be underestimated. This marked the beginning of a change in the long-standing dynamic between the two peoples, a change that would soon manifest itself even more dramatically when David ascended the throne. Although the Philistines, as a distinct ethnic and cultural group, may have disappeared over time, their legacy as formidable enemies of the Israelites continues to captivate the imagination through stories of heroism, love, and conflict. The Philistines represent more than just an adversary, they are a mirror that reflects the complexities of Israelite identity. From the mysterious sea people to their immortalization in sacred and historical texts, the Philistines transcended their earthly existence. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel to find out more. Leave a comment with any story you'd like to hear next. Until the next video.